Hello guys, and let's return back to Crimea, and I mean both figuratively in our conversation today and for real, because Crimea is Ukraine. And a lot has been done this night to liberate the peninsula. At least 7 Russian aircraft were seriously damaged or maybe even destroyed, with the support of the Ukrainian drone operators in 2 military bases in Saky and Hvardiiske. We also neutralized a radar, which means more of Russia's strategic sites exposed on the peninsula, but the invaders do have a choice. They can leave Crimea as long as the Kerch Bridge is still operating. But the queues are really big, just the same as the queues to get some gasoline in Russia, which for the first time in the history of the world can be seen from the space. And I'm not exaggerating, this is the news shared all over the Russian Telegram channels. But let's have a closer look how we keep liberating Crimea and how this strategy exposes the absence of the Russian strategy and the only working peace plan to defeat and demilitarize them and to watch the collapse of the Kremlin regime. And if you want to do that together, subscribe, share the videos to spread the truth, because I'm Anna, I'm from Ukraine, in Ukraine, and believe me, we see more here witnessing this war and Russia's weakness, inability to achieve their military goals, and actually the war that now started on their side. So let's begin with some really good news from the head of the Ukrainian drone troops, which I keep naming according to his call sign, and you keep asking me in the comments if he is my dad. No, that's the way I pronounce his call sign, Magyar. Magyar is not my dad. He's way young to be one. Plus, my father was a dentist, and that's a different profession. Drone operators were not that popular just a couple of years ago. But today they are writing the history of Ukraine, the history of Russia, and the history of the modern war. So, with these visits of the Ukrainian drones to various military sites all over the occupied peninsula, we achieved a lot. And perhaps my favorite achievement is the mini spider web, if I can call it that way, because 7 is not that mini. 7 Russian military aircraft were neutralized on 2 military air bases in Saky and Hvardiiske. I have to tell you that these bases before the occupation were civil airports, and Crimea was designed by God to be a resort. And trust me, after the defeat of Russian invaders, after we clean the Ukrainian land from their rotting military bases, we will use these bases as civilian airports, and that's exactly where you will buy your tickets to. But right now we are preparing the peninsula for the free tourist season, and that's exactly what we need. Because these military aircraft, and these were Su-30s and Su-24, Russians used to bomb Ukraine. Crimea right now, well, not exactly now, because the state of emergency changes the plans of the Russian army, but for years after its annexation was used as a base for attacks on mainland Ukraine. And cities like Mykolaiv, Kherson, Odessa, and literally all the territory of Ukraine were threatened by the logistics that the invaders were developing in Crimea, and now we are cleaning that logistics, returning the territories back to where they belong. And a lot of people in Crimea now experiences electricity outages, problems with water, still understand the process is very important. And I have seen tons of phone calls, people from Crimea reaching various Russian TV stations and saying that they are happy. They understand that the liberating operation began. They are super grateful to the Ukrainian army because these years under the Kremlin persuaded even those who seemed neutral that Ruski Mir is an extremely evil concept that destroys lives, values, and prosperity. So anyway, together with these 7 aircraft that were either seriously damaged or totally destroyed, satellite images will confirm them, we neutralized a radar, which means the peninsula opens more of evil spots to the Ukrainian drone operators. Also, just as these destroyed Russian bombers can be seen from satellite, queues to get some gasoline in Russia are seen from the space. This is insane, this is sensational all over the Russian Telegram channels, and clearly demonstrates that they could not predict such development of the special military operation, but now deep in the Russian rear. Also, according to the Ukrainian drone units, a lot of energy objects were neutralized last night in Crimea, and you have to understand that a lot of energy is consumed to service various Russian operators. And right now, with the state of emergency, they are doing everything to take control over the things they are losing, and our task is to keep working on their liberation. And it also means that the Kremlin is getting angrier and more aggressive, violent in their actions, and we need to protect our skies. And I'm very honored to introduce you to a fundraiser of United 24, which is an extremely important media here in Ukraine, and they are trying to get more instruments that will protect people during nightly attacks like the one last night in Kyiv that took a lot of lives, but there are ways to prevent that, developing stronger shield and protecting us, and also learning how to do it in case some other countries may need it, because unfortunately right now this planet is a very unpredictable place, and all because of people like Putin and some other wannabe dictators. I will pin the link to the fundraiser in the first comment, and consider supporting it if you want to do something really good and really useful that will save a lot of innocent lives. And we keep saving a lot of innocent lives, destroying the instruments that otherwise Russia targets on the Ukrainian territory. Just think about 7 Russian aircraft during just one night, and it shows you the scale of our defense and actually how we develop in comparison to 2022. We clearly see that Ukraine, despite all the efforts of the Kremlin, is getting stronger and more skilled, while Russia is getting poorer and angrier. Let me know your thoughts about Crimea operation in comments below, and do you see it in your local news? This is important. Share, because the world leaders, decision makers and ordinary citizens need to make their conclusions based on the realities on the ground, and the realities are that Crimea slowly but confidently is liberated by the Ukrainian angry birds. Do follow me on Anna Danilchuk, that is another channel for weekly updates, and a recent video is extremely important because it is about the Russian military who spoke against the Putin regime and was very quickly arrested, but gained some real popularity among the Russian population. Follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord and Substack. The links traditionally in the description of this video, same as the key to the merch shop, where we've got lots of very beautiful products that also remind the world about Ukraine and start some very important conversations that can actually change a lot. Thank you so much for buying me coffees. I'm drinking some cold coffees because it's still super hot here in Ukraine. Thank you for becoming patrons and sponsors of this channel. But most importantly, thank you for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!